sa gnoma velénva ilimate, va, susretanu sarasala pili druga velala lume, na unkve lonava unkve obrazanu navisha eterika sila.
In a place where epic expanses intertwine with scientific imagination, we'll encounter races from other planets, both good and evil, and peer into the higher etheric energies that permeate our material universe. Within the luminous embrace of the Great Barrier, the Sylvaerons had spent countless cycles in dedicated development, cycles around two suns, filled with deep meditations and the refinement of biomental technology brought them a level of power and understanding that surpassed even their wildest expectations. Their multidimensional vessels, named Star Dancers, were now the pinnacle of elegance and efficiency. With them, unseen and undetected, they ventured beyond the shadow of their protective barrier, visiting distant planets, observing civilizations with fascination but without direct intervention. They were silent observers, their existence unknown, their actions guided by a profound desire to comprehend the cosmic web. In these reconnaissance journeys, the Sylvaerons marveled at the diversity of life, recording the energetic signatures of worlds, without a trace of fear or unease, feeling powerful and secure in their advanced biomental forms. Every excursion was a testament to their progress, a witness to the harmony they had achieved within themselves and with their surroundings. One serene cycle, while Kalen was immersed in his usual meditation in the nexus of harmony, he felt the space around him thicken with vibrations that were deeply familiar, yet imbued with a new solemnity. The Lyra'el D'ahn appeared, not as mere outlines or whispered thoughts, but as clear, luminous forms, their presence filling the nexus with a tranquil, all-encompassing energy. They did not speak in words, but directly transmitted thoughts, woven into Kalen's very consciousness. The message was clear. The Sylvaerons had reached a turning point. Their development, their devotion to the golden chain, their mastery of higher etheric energy through technology, all had culminated. They were officially informed by the higher entities that, as a civilization, they had advanced and ascended to a higher level. They had received permission from the higher entities to begin direct incursions into higher etheric energy, to use it for travel over inconceivable distances and for direct communication with other higher entities residing in the ether. Kalen's mental monologue: the barrier protects us. It has allowed us to mature. The path to higher etheric energy is not merely a journey, but a transformation. We must be ready for the shadows of existence, for only through confronting them do we recognize true light. The barrier remains our eternal protection, but we must learn to move beyond its walls without abandoning its embrace. The moment has arrived. Immediately after the encounter, Kaelin mentally transmitted the news to the entire Sylvaeron collective. It was not a command, but an invitation, a resonance that pulsed through every consciousness. The collective reaction was potent, overflowing from individual thoughts into a singular symphony. A deep, positive exhilaration was felt, a wave of joy and anticipation that permeated Sylvaeron. It was proof of their progress, confirmation of their path, but simultaneously, that exhilaration was infused with profound awe. This duality of excitement and reverence only further solidified their resolve to explore new horizons. They knew they were chosen for something far greater than the higher entities. Many cycles ago, on the planet Sylvaeron, the Sylvaerons had constructed colossal energetic structures around each of the crystal gates, ancient portals scattered across their world, named the Crystal Halls of the Luminiferous Flow Academy. These halls, marvels of biomental architecture themselves, served as sanctuaries and training centers, safeguarding the gates while simultaneously focusing the energy required for their activation. Every crystal in the hall walls was meticulously calibrated to resonate with frequencies leading to higher etheric energy, creating a symphony of light and sound that prepared consciousness for transcendental passage. At the very heart of these imposing halls stood the crystal gates, ancient portals, towering columns of pure, polished light that had passively pulsed with a soft, rhythmic glow for thousands of cycles. These colossal crystal monoliths, imbued with ancient energy, were the key to higher etheric energy. The Lyra'el D'ahn had now bestowed upon the Sylvaerons the knowledge of how to activate them, how to open a direct passage to uncharted expanses. It was not a key or a switch, but a complex vibrational frequency, a mental code that resonated with the very heart of the gates, deeply rooted in the principles of the Golden Chain. The day of the first portal opening was imbued with anticipation and a sacred trepidation. The entire Sylvaeron collective gathered in the halls, their consciousnesses merged into a single thread of support. The air was saturated with the scent of ozone and the subtle pulsing of energy as the luminous forms of the Sylvaerons moved silently towards the central sanctuary. Before the crystal gates, in a luminous circle, stood the mighty elders of the Luminiferous Flow Academy. These ancient Sylvaerons, their faces sculpted by cycles of meditation, radiated a soft, golden light, and in their hands, they held tall, slender crystal staves, ancient resonators of consciousness, imbued with the wisdom of aeons of cycles. The moment was filled with complete silence, broken only by the inner whisper of the collective consciousness. The solemn ritual commenced. The mighty elders closed their radiant eyes, delving deeper into the collective consciousness. Their mental forms merged, creating a unified, energetic focus. Simultaneously, their crystal staves began to gently vibrate, emitting an increasingly intense hum that resonated with the hall's walls. The hum gradually transformed into a complex, ethereal melody, a chord that spiraled through the ether and directly into the heart of the gates. Each tone was precisely modulated, frequency by frequency, unlocking the gate's ancient mechanisms. As the elders raised their staves in a perfectly synchronized arc, a powerful wave of higher etheric energy surged through them and the gates. The crystal columns responded, their pulsation growing more intense, shifting from a gentle glow to a dazzling, yet harmless, fireworks display of turquoise, golden, and indigo blue light. The central space between the columns began to shift. The air shimmered, colors swirled, and in a flash, a portal to higher etheric energy appeared. It was not an empty void, but a living, rainbow-hued, tranquil portal with a gentle effusion of emanating colors. From it emanated an energy that smelled of pure consciousness, yet also carried the faint echo of something long banished. Beside the mighty elders, in a strict yet fluid formation, stood the energetic guardians, selected Sylvaerons of exceptional power, trained to protect the crystal hall of the Luminiferous Flow Academy, and thus their planet Sylvaeron, from potential incursions by malevolent entities from higher etheric energy, especially those residing in the shadows of existence, including Umbra Noxa. Their bodies were tense, but their minds serene, ready to redirect, transform, or dissipate any dissonant vibration that attempted to penetrate. They knew that it was through this very gate, with the assistance of the Lyra'el D'ahn, that they had, many cycles ago, first opened a portal to higher etheric energy, and thus banished Umbra Noxa back into the ether. The question of whether this ancient threat would return hung in the air like an invisible cloud, injecting an element of uncertainty into the solemn moment. Their synchronized consciousness created an impenetrable shield of vibrations, sensitive to the slightest disturbance. Arian, while training the young energetic guardians with a calm but warning tone, shadows do not attack physically, but feed on fear and inner turmoil. Your shield is not of material substance, but of unwavering harmony. If your inner light shines brightly enough, no shadow can latch on to you. Remember, we have already banished them from here. We will not allow their return. Every thought of yours is a barrier. Every emotion is a test. Do not allow even a speck of fear to settle within you, for that is a crack through which darkness can penetrate. We are the last line of defense. The team of first etheric travelers was carefully selected. They were led by Lyra'el, with his unparalleled experience in astral travel and a developed intuition for etheric flows. He was accompanied by Aurelia, whose intuitive sense for fluid patterns was crucial for recognizing subtle changes in the etheric network, and Nylos, a master of scalar waves, responsible for navigating through unknown currents and mapping newly discovered pathways. All were clad in their biomental suits, fluid, iridescent forms that shimmered in aquamarine and turquoise hues, reflecting inner light, now even more intuitive and adaptable to etheric currents. These suits were not merely garments. They were an extension of their consciousness, capable of fluidly merging with the etheric environment and providing protection from dissonant vibrations. Their biomental vessels, star dancers, hovered behind them, ready to follow them through the boundless expanses. As they approached the portal, they felt material reality dissolve. Their bodies became lighter, their thoughts clearer, and their senses sharpened to the level of perceiving the very fabric of existence. There was no sound, yet they heard a symphony of vibrations, the whisper of cosmic intelligence. Lyrien, as the first, stepped through. The moment was surreal. He felt his consciousness expand, the boundaries of his being vanish. In that moment of transition, a realization struck him like lightning. This sensation was similar, though not identical, to when they had, many cycles ago, with the help of the Lyra'el D'ahn, banished Umbran Noxa. Parts of his being recalled that ancient struggle. The vibrations of banishment echoed deep within his etheric form. Did the gate's energy remember that battle? Was that memory of dissonance forever woven into the ether? Lyrian's inner monologue, as he entered the portal, feeling the pulsation that awakened memories. No fear, only revelation. I feel as though I am returning home, yet to something I have never experienced. This is freedom, but also the deepest unknown. Will Umbran Noxa await us? Has the ether remembered our banishment? We must be cautious. Dissonance is still present, like a pale scar on the surface of light. This journey is not only exploration, but also a journey through the memory of the universe itself. Then they stepped through and remained. Behind them, the portal shimmered, but remained open under the watchful eyes of the elders and guardians, whose minds focused on maintaining the passage's stability. Before them lay an incomprehensible sight. Higher etheric energy was a complex, hypnotizing network of millions of refracting, light yellow and magical turquoise scalar strings, interweaving and unraveling in incomprehensible, fluid patterns. They glittered and pulsed, creating a luminous yet tranquil space with a gentle effusion of colors, not the colors of the spectrum, but the colors of pure vibrations and various forms of subtle energy. It was as if they had entered a living, breathing aura of the universe itself, a gigantic, luminous web of consciousness, pure beauty, yet with a threatening subconscious note. Each strand of light danced and created new forms that constantly shifted, inviting them to merge into their ethereal harmony, but simultaneously warning of potential danger. There was no solid ground, no sky, no air particles, only an endless, pulsating, luminous network. Each string was a pathway. Each passage carried information. They could feel the echo of billions of thoughts, the pervasive harmony of the golden chain, but also subtle dissonances, traces of the shadows of existence and the memory of Umbran Noxa. Nothing was static. Everything was in constant, ethereal dance, an infinite symphony of vibrations. Aurelia, in a stunned mental conversation with Nylos, her consciousness overwhelmed by the surreal sight. This is more than we imagined. Every thread is a story. Nylos, every color is an emotion, and I feel presences, billions of presences. Are they travelers or something else? Some places are cold, silent, That must be the work of Umbran Noxa. I feel their emptiness like black holes in the fabric of light. We must map them. Nilos, focused on navigation, his being tense but resolute. Breathe, Aurelia. Feel the flow. These strings are our pathways. I feel traces of ancient journeys, but also cold spots, pockets of silence, where Umbran Noxa might have left its mark. We must be cautious. We are invisible, but not undetectable. If we vibrate too much, every wrong thought can expose us. Our mental stability is our strongest shield here. Any fear or doubt is a signal to etheric predators. Despite the initial euphoria, the Sylvaerons were painfully aware of the dangers. In the very beginnings of etheric travel, before they learned to navigate the scalar wave strings, the paths of the map of passages, several groups of Sylvaerons were permanently lost in higher etheric energy. Their consciousnesses would dissolve, becoming part of the etheric flow with no return. The map of passages was not a physical map, but a mental construct, a complex set of vibrational frequencies that represented safe passages and energy flows carefully created under the guidance of the Lyra'el D'ahn. They familiarized themselves with the fluid nature of etheric expanses and the countless entities inhabiting higher etheric energy, learning to discern friendly vibrations from those that were dangerous or confusing. Through cycles of training, the Sylvaerons developed exceptional mental discipline and the ability to align with the subtlest etheric currents, avoiding traps and dissonant resonances. Now, thanks to dedicated learning and sacrifices, they were able to not only communicate, but also travel through higher etheric energy with their biomental vessels and suits, thereby overcoming spatial distances in the material world. Travel between distant galaxies that would take aeons of cycles in the material world was now instantaneous. New horizons opened, not only of physical space but also of the understanding of the multiverse itself. Every transition was a step closer to understanding the essence of existence, a step towards true unity with the golden chain. As the Sylvaerons learned to navigate the ether, the Lyra'el D'ahn explained the scheme of higher dimensions using the analogy of a tall tree. Imagine a colossal, cosmic tree. Its peak reaches incomprehensible heights, losing itself in inconceivable light, while its roots spread through immeasurable expanses, anchoring themselves in the primordial cosmic matrix. Its shadow covers a smaller tree, and the shadow of that smaller tree covers an even smaller tree, and so on infinitely, down to the smallest plant in a grassy field covered by shadow. Each layer of shadow represented an increasingly denser manifestation of energy, until the densest material level was reached. The grassy field was the material cosmos, the universe the Sylvaerons had known until then. Material beings within it were minuscule, even in relation to the grass, which they did not recognize as grass because it was too large for them. Material beings resided in the shadow of the lowest levels of the ether, often unaware of the vast expanse and complexity of the higher etheric energies that surrounded them. Each level of the tree represented an increasingly higher and more subtle level of the ether, with its own rules, vibrations, and forms of existence. Transitioning from one branch level to another required a specific resonance, a particular key of frequency and consciousness. Lyra'el D'ahn, mental projection, voice infused with ancient wisdom, resonating with Kalens and the collective mind. You, Sylvaerons, have learned to climb from the grassy field to the first branches of the tree, but remember, the branches are numerous, and each leads to higher levels of consciousness and existence. Do not rush, for the tree is boundless, and its fruits are knowledge. Each level has its challenges and its guardians. Climbing without preparation means dissolution, a return to unindividualized energy. Every leaf on that tree is a consciousness. Every flower is a galaxy. Every fruit is a star. You are now part of that tree, but you are only beginning to comprehend its depth. It was believed that above the highest level of etheric energy, above the very peak of that cosmic tree, lay the source, the ultimate destination of consciousness after leaving the material body. The source controlled all lower levels through a complex network of energetic threads and information, like the nervous system of the universe itself, the pulsating core of all existence. The material universe was therefore enveloped in layers of different levels of higher etheric energies, like concentric auras, each with its unique vibrational harmony. The Lyra'el D'ahn also instructed the Sylvaerons that each higher level of etheric energy was inhabited by energetic entities. These entities, in a metaphorical sense, acted as guardians of these levels. They were multidimensional and abstract entities, capable of being present everywhere and in every time period simultaneously, like living nodes in the ether's network, essences of pure consciousness. Their exact number remained unknown, but their presence was undeniable. They protected the integrity of the levels and prevented unauthorized passage between them by other entities and material beings who could travel through dreams or astrally, but did not possess the necessary spiritual and vibrational purity. Zil, in an inner monologue as he studied the newly acquired knowledge of the ether, water carries information, but the ether is information itself. These energetic entities are living libraries, guardians of the harmony of each level. Their presence is like a rhythm in cosmic music. We must learn to understand that music before we attempt to join it. Every dissonance we encounter is an anomaly, an error in the symphony, and it is our task to correct or isolate it. We must be precise, for the slightest error in the ether can have catastrophic consequences in the material world. However, temporal leaps, conscious manipulation, and alteration of the past or future were still beyond their reach. They felt that this was a boundary that the Lyra'el D'ahn did not yet consider them ready to cross, perhaps due to the implications for the golden chain itself and the potential dissonance such power could cause. Such power the Lyra'el D'ahn explained, carried the risk of creating paradoxes that could threaten the stability of the entire multiverse, tearing the fabric of time and space. It was a level of responsibility that transcended even Sylvaeron comprehension, reserved for entities with complete union with the source. After cycles of exploration and learning within higher etheric energy, the Sylvaeron team, led by Lyrien, began to feel a subtle yet menacing dissonance. It was not a tangible enemy, but a cold wave spreading through the otherwise warm network of scalar strings, leaving behind an echo of distorted harmony. This disturbing vibration originated from specific parts of the ether, those close to certain material worlds. The team, guided by Lyrien's intuition and Nilos's ability to map etheric distortions, decided to return to Sylvaeron to report and consider the emerging threat. They felt no immediate physical danger, but the etheric pressure was increasing, threatening to disrupt their internal balance. The passage back through the crystal gates was as solemn as their entry. The team again felt the intertwining of etheric and material reality, and when their biomental suits stabilized in the hall, Kaelin and the mighty elders were already waiting, sensing their unease through the collective consciousness. Kaelin's mental monologue, as he received energetic vibrations from Lyrien's team, filtering them through his amplified consciousness. I feel it. A new threat. Something that disrupts the chain at a deeper level than mere destruction. Subtlety is the key, but also the greatest challenge. We must distinguish reality from illusion, light from shadow. This dissonance is different, more insidious than what we have faced before. It does not smell of raw power, but of the decay of spirit. Lyrien conveyed to the collective all they had discovered. The presence of Zhel'thas Morfai, better known as energetic vampires. The encounter with them was not a battle in the physical sense, but a psychological and ethical challenge that threatened to introduce doubt and discord into the Sylvaeron collective itself. They realized that this race was not exclusively etheric, but primarily manifested in the material world, using the ether as a channel for their manipulations and penetration into the consciousness of other beings. Zhel'thas Morfai were a cunning race, with a terrifying ability to alter their physical form to perfectly mimic other beings. They had no fixed form. Their true being was a shadow, fluid, adaptable emptiness that assumed the shapes of other beings from the material universe, from the tiniest insects to dominant intelligent species. They used this skill to infiltrate leadership positions on planets, manipulate societies from within, sowing seeds of discord and hindering their progress for their own hidden goals, primarily to create fertile ground for feeding. Their presence was like a silent poison spreading through society, reshaping it according to their distorted needs, weakening its connection to the golden chain until souls became fragile enough for the Zhel'thas Morfai to harvest them. Eliana, trembling in meditation as she perceived the distant vibrations of the Zhel'thas Morfai, her inner light slightly flickering, but resolute. Kaelin, I feel a coldness. It's not just emptiness, it's corruption. They don't fight with force. They poison consciousness. They are parasites of the chain, deceivers. Their presence is like a silent cry of pain spreading through the network of consciousness. They are masters of illusion and subtle control. Their essence is the absence of light, a vacuum that devours. We cannot ignore them, otherwise they will devour everything we cherish. We must stop them, but how do we unmask something that is a mask itself? Their technology was a distorted reflection of the power of higher etheric energy. Zhel'thas Morfai collected sparks, souls, fragments of consciousness of deceased beings who wish to return to the unity of universal energy in higher dimensions. They used these sparks of bygone civilizations as energy to amplify their technology with multidimensional energy, creating monstrous machines that could distort reality and control lower dimensions. Their goal was to interrupt the natural flow of souls to the source, trapping them and using them as fuel for their dark power. Each trapped spark was another stone in the foundation of their tyrannical control, ensuring their energetic dominance and extended life cycle outside the natural order. They were a negative, parasitic civilization that fed on negative emotions, fear, and disharmony. They could influence the material world through dreams, obsessions, or by instigating conflicts, spreading darkness and chaos. They did not require direct attacks. They would simply amplify existing negative tendencies in societies, feeding on the resulting chaos. In a literal sense, they were energetic vampires, siphoning the very essence of life, draining joy, hope, and connection to the chain from their victims. Tales of them, spreading like a silent whisper through the ether, were thrillers with elements of paranoia and the uncovering of hidden enemies. And now the Sylvaerons were the ones facing this nightmarish reality. Kailan's inner monologue. This is a new kind of darkness. It's not the senseless violence of the Kyle-Nar. This is insidious, subtle corruption. They don't want to destroy the body, but to entrap the soul, to sever the connection to the chain. How do we fight something that doesn't exist in a material sense, yet permeates everything? Our defense must be as subtle as their threat. We must become the light that reveals shadows without ourselves becoming tainted by the darkness. If we directly confront them, we risk becoming like them, allowing their dissonance to engulf us. We must find a path that honors the chain, but also protects those endangered by it. A path of wisdom, not brute force. The ethical dilemma became acute. The Sylvaerons were trained to observe, to subtly influence, but when faced with a civilization that actively destroys the very potential for return to the chain, that feeds on the essence of life, when should observation cease and intervention begin? This question echoed through every meditation, through every conversation within the collective. They could not stand idly by while souls were distorted and abused. They had to develop new strategies to deepen their understanding of the interaction between the material and the etheric. For this was not just about simple travel, but about preserving the very essence of existence. The answer did not lie in total war, but in precise, surgical intervention that would free minds, not destroy bodies. To contend with the threat of the Zhel'thas Morfai and explore other civilizations with less risk, the Sylvaerons developed a new ability: shape shifting. This was not magic, but an advanced application of their control over scalar waves and their ability to manipulate their own energy, stemming from a deep understanding of etheric morphology and the capacity to mentally reshape matter at a quantum level. The Sylvaerons learned to mentally target a species, a race, an elemental being, or an animal with whom they wished to interact, and visually adopt the physical form characteristic of that species. This transformation was temporary and served for easier communication, integration, or understanding of other life forms, allowing them to move undetected and gather information without causing panic or conflict. Every change was more than mere imitation. It was a temporary dwelling in the skin of another being, a deeply empathetic understanding of their perception of reality, their joys and fears. Terrace, while training the team for shape-shifting, his voice calm and infused with understanding, as holographic projections of various life forms hovered around them. We don't just copy the form, we copy the vibration, the essence. You must merge with the mind of the creature whose form you assume. Feel the world as they feel it. This is empathy, brought to perfection, not just to pass through matter, but to become it. This is the art of invisibility at the deepest level. Every cell must resonate with the essence of what you imitate. Your mental projection must be flawless, without a trace of the Sylvaeron frequency. Otherwise, you will be recognized by your energetic signature. This is a delicate dance between concealment and enlightenment. Any dissonance in your imitation, any misalignment with the vibrational imprint of the being, can expose you to the Zhel'thas Morfai, who are masters at recognizing false vibrations. Your task is to be a mirror, not just a copy. This ability was particularly useful in interacting with civilizations affected by the influence of the Zhel'thas Morfai. The Sylvaerons, in their assumed forms, could infiltrate societies, observe firsthand the effects of parasitic control, and subtly counteract them. They did not fight physically. Instead, they used invisible scalar energy waves for subtle interaction in the material world. These were vibrations of harmony, light, and truth, which they emitted, breaking down the influence of fear and disharmony spread by the Zhel'thas Morfai. These subtle vibrations, like a silent echo, would foster doubt in deceptions, strengthen inner resilience, and awaken a desire for truth in those under the vampire's influence. Their approach was like pouring purifying water into a muddy pond, gradually breaking down layers of darkness without anyone noticing the source of the change. Nylos, sweating from mental exertion as he manipulated the etheric threads, his face glowing with inner energy. Their control is in the vibration. We break that vibration with ours. It's like they're singing a dissonant song, and we're turning it into harmony. They won't know why they feel different, only that they do. This is a war for minds, and our invisibility is our strongest weapon. Every frequency change is a blow to their control. We must find the key frequency that resonates with the chain and their victims and amplify it. while simultaneously dampening the parasitic resonance of the Zhel'thas Morfai. It's a delicate dance, because too much force can cause resistance. Too much subtlety can be ignored. We find balance, precisely like a surgeon operating. Each of our waves is a whisper of awakening. Imagine it as an artwork of vibrations, carefully calibrated to break the illusion. The energetic vampires, Zhel'thas Morfai, were particularly dangerous because they fed on the subtle energies of souls and emotions, which were invisible to ordinary beings. Their presence would manifest through increasing apathy, hopelessness, conflicts, paranoia, and a general decline in life energy within a society. Victims would become pale, lethargic, their creativity would wither, and their capacity for empathy would vanish. Even the environment itself would become gloomier. Colors would fade, and sounds would be muffled. The Sylvaerons now had to learn to recognize these subtle traces, to discern the difference between natural social problems and malignant etheric infiltration. This required a new kind of perceptive acuity, the ability to read the energetic signature of entire civilizations, to feel the pulse of a planet. Kaelin's collective mind faced its greatest challenge yet: how to lead his race through this new kind of war, how to protect the chain when the enemy is bodiless in its true form, and its weapon is subtle manipulation of consciousness. The answers were not in force, but in a deeper understanding of the golden chain and the skill to use the ether, not just for travel, but for subtle yet powerful cosmic intervention. New strategies were needed, new moral principles, a new definition of combat. They were not warriors in the traditional sense, but subtle conductors of cosmic harmony, whose task was to restore dissonant frequencies to order and liberate those trapped in the web of darkness. Thus, the Sylvaerons, carrying the light of the golden chain within their beings, and now, for the first time, in the ether and disguised forms, embarked on a journey not only through the cosmos, but also through the very depths of consciousness. Every encounter, every vibration, every form they assumed deepened their understanding of the subtle battle unfolding in the fabric of the universe. They discovered that the cosmos was an endless web of consciousness, and that the chain was the thread connecting everything, a pulsating life that permeated all. The challenges were great, but their resolve, amplified by the knowledge that they were chosen, burned brighter than ever, illuminating paths through the darkest etheric pockets. Their missions became complex combinations of intelligence and empathy. First, an infiltration team, led by Terrace, would select a planet under the influence of the Zhel'thas Morfai. They would carefully study the dominant race, its cultural nuances, social hierarchies, and prevailing emotions. Taris would then guide the shape-shifting process, ensuring that each Sylvaeron transformed into a perfect double, not only physically, but also vibrationally. Terrace's mental instruction to the team before infiltration on the planet Xylar, home to the Xylari race, known for their empathy, but now plunged into paranoia. Feel their sadness, their confusion. Do not just imitate their physical form, but also their subtle energetic signature. They were once open, full of trust. The Zhel'thas Morfai exploited that, We are here to restore that openness to them. Bear their pain as your own, but do not let it overwhelm you. Your transformation is complete when you no longer feel like a Sylvaeron in another's skin, but like a Xylorak awakening. After successful infiltration, the teams would disperse within society. Nylos, using his advanced scalar sensors, would silently map centers of etheric distortion, places where the Zhel'thas Morfai were most actively drawing energy. These would often be centers of power, political buildings, media corporations, and even religious temples where fear was manipulated for spiritual purposes. Aurelia, with her enhanced intuition, would identify individuals whose souls were most depleted, or those who possessed the potential for awakening. Aurelia, her consciousness acting as an etheric compass, detecting traces of energetic depletion. Kylan, I feel them, like spider webs, attaching to the most vulnerable. Sylvaerons chosen for positions of power, those in a position to spread influence, are most affected. I feel their exhaustion, their distorted perception of reality. The Morphae have latched onto their fears and ambitions. We need vectors of light, those strong enough to accept the truth. I found a few, barely flickering, but still holding a spark of the chain. Subtle intervention then commenced. Nylos would emit precisely calibrated scalar waves of harmony directly into the etheric network around targeted individuals or groups. These waves were not loud. They were like a quiet whisper, imperceptible to material senses, but perfectly resonant with the spark of the chain within each soul. These waves would act as a counter-frequency to the vampiric dissonance, slowly breaking down the etheric bonds the Zhel'thas Morfai had established. Victims would begin to feel a slight discomfort, an inexplicable doubt about their leaders, or a sudden, fleeting surge of positive emotions that would briefly clear their minds. Nylos, sweating from mental exertion as he manipulated the etheric threads. The frequency must be perfect, too strong, and will provoke resistance. Too weak, and it will be futile. We must penetrate the layers of fear and apathy that the Zhel'thas Morfai have created. Every time a thought of freedom emerges, we amplify it. Every time doubt in a lie appears, we strengthen it. It's like planting seeds of light in the darkness. The reaction of the Zhel'thas Morfai was subtle but sharp. They would feel changes in the energetic flow, noticing their control weaken. Their shadowy forms in the ether would move agitatedly, while in the material world, their disguised agents would begin to act more nervously, intensifying propaganda pressure or instigating new conflicts to regain lost energy of fear. This would be a sign to the Sylvaerons that they were on the right track, but also that they needed to be even more cautious. Lyra'el, mentally warning the team on the ground, they feel us. Their reaction is predictable. They will raise the stakes, intensify the disharmony, be aware of increased fear. It is their defense. Do not allow their panic to engulf you. Remain rooted in the chain. Your inner harmony is your best camouflage. The struggle grew more intense, though invisible. The Sylvaerons had to perfect their masking techniques, becoming true masters of illusion, not only physical but mental. They developed the ability to project illusory energetic patterns that would deceive the Zhel'thas Morfai, diverting their attention from the true points of intervention. Simultaneously, their ability to absorb and transmute negative energy was put to the test. Every encounter with a distorted soul, every perception of suffering, required immense mental strength to maintain internal balance and prevent the darkness from clinging to them. Cycle after cycle, the Sylvaerons continued their missions, freeing one civilization after another from parasitic control. There were no grandiose battles or heroic celebrations, only a quiet, gradual awakening, where the victims of the Zhel'thas Morfai would slowly return to their authentic vibration, feeling an inexplicable wave of hope and clarity. It was a testament to the power of the chain and the strength of the Sylvaeron spirit. They were not waging war, but correcting harmony, restoring order to the cosmic symphony. Although the threat of Umbra Noxa still lingered in the darkest pockets of the ether, the Sylvaerons realized that the fight against the Zhel'thas Morfai was a preparatory phase, training them for a more subtle and comprehensive conflict yet to come. Every liberated spark, every restored harmony was a step closer to complete enlightenment and the protection of the golden chain itself from all dissonant frequencies. They had become not only guardians of their world, but also the silent architects of cosmic order. Spread the word about our civilization as far as possible to everyone you know, so that all may hear and discover the wonders of the Sylvaerons. For the more you know about us, the closer will be the moment of our arrival.